Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, my name is Dorotea and I'm a crocheter behind Croby patterns. I write crochet patterns and tutorials and I share them here on my YouTube channel and on my blog, both called Croby patterns. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful crochet baby bonnet from start to finish. We are going to go through all the important steps, stitches and techniques you have to know and understand to make this baby bonnet. Don't worry, the pattern is beginner friendly and pretty easy to understand. I just want to quickly mention here that this is the third pattern from my Calming Green collection of baby items. We've previously created a baby romper and a baby sweater, as you can see here. So this is now the third pattern in this collection, and I will leave a link to my blog post with written instructions to all three patterns down below, as well as the link to my pattern shops where you can get beautifully designed PDF patterns, of course available for instant download, so you can instantly download them. And if you want to support my work, please consider joining us on Patreon to see what is happening behind the scenes and to be the first to know what patterns and projects are coming next and on what I'm currently working on. So let's start. With all that said, let's start with the materials and what you are going to need for this baby bonnet. So as you can see here, I have two skeins of yarn that don't have label anymore, and that is because those two are leftovers from my crochet baby sweater. Both of them are 100% cotton yarns called Drops Paris. You actually need around 3 skeins of mint and 1 skein of beige color for the sweater, and this is what's left from those 3 skeins of mint and 1 skein of beige, and it should be enough for the one full baby bonnet. In addition to that, you are going to need 4.5mm crochet hook. This is the hook I am going to use today. Then you are going to need stitch markers. I am using these very basic stitch markers that you can open and close. Those are perfect for crocheting. You are also going to need scissors. I'm using these simple ones. Just make sure they are sharp enough. And you are also going to need a tapestry needle. Take your 4.5mm crochet hook, and we are going to start with the slip knot. Insert the hook into the loop, pull the loop, but make sure the loop can nicely travel up and down, and create a foundation chain made of 46 chains. This is now my foundation chain made of 46 chains. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create one additional chain, and that is going to be our turning chain. Now turn your foundation chain so you can see the back bumps. If you don't know what the back bumps are, if you look at your chain from this side, you see 2 loops, and if you look at it from this side, you can see just 1 loop here in the middle. And this is the side with the back bumps, and those loops in the middle are the back bumps. We are going to create a row of half double crochet stitches. I'm going to show you how to create a half double crochet stitch now. Yarn over first. Now skip the first chain and start in the second. Go under that back bump. Pull the yarn through. Now you have 3 loops on your crochet hook. 1, 2, 3. Grab the yarn and pull it through all the loops on your crochet hook, and that is half double crochet stitch. We are going to use stitch markers, so insert the stitch marker into your very first stitch. Again, yarn over, insert the hook into the loop under the back bump, yarn over, pull the loop through. We have 1, 2, 3, yarn over and pull the loop through. Alright, those are our first 2 half double crochet stitches. So you can pause the video here and continue with your half double crochet stitches, but stop 1 stitch before the end of the row and come back, and I will show you how to switch the yarn, how to change the yarn color, and how to continue with your rows of half double crochet stitches. This is my row of half double crochet stitches now. One stitch left here, and what we are going to do now is we are going to switch the yarn and continue with the contrasting color. So we are going to start our half double crochet stitch. So yarn over first, insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull the loop through. And now that you have 3 loops in your crochet hook, you are going to introduce the contrasting color, and you're going to create a loop just like this. That's perfectly enough. And you are going to pull that loop through all the loops on your crochet hook, and that is not going to change the color of your last stitch of the row, but it will help you to continue with the next color from here on. So I already created one chain, and this is our turning chain. Now I'm going to turn my work and create a half double crochet stitch here into the very first stitch or the very last stitch of the previous row. And as you can see here, this is our turning chain, this is the very last stitch of the row, and now I'm already starting the row with the brand new half double crochet stitch. So insert the hook into the stitch, pull the yarn through, and this is our first half double crochet stitch. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue with the contrasting color, but I'm going to cut the yarn here and simply start with the contrasting color and continue with the half double crochet stitches. So here you can see our first 2 rows of half double crochet stitches. You now know how to switch the yarn and how to lift the row to a proper height. So how to create a turning chain, which is chain 1 in our case. And what you are going to do now is you are going to repeat those 2 rows a couple of more times. So you are going to repeat these rows 2 more times so that you will have 6 rows of half double crochet stitches in total. So once you have 6 rows in total, come back and I will show you how to continue with the bonnet. Here we are in our row 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have mint and white or beige yarn repeated 3 times. As you can see here, I have a bunch of yarn tails and I am going to weave them in later. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the color and continue with the mint color. And I'm going to create half double crochet stitches all the way to the end of the row. So this is going to be my very first row made with just mint color, and then I'm going to repeat this row 6 more times. So at the end I need to have 6 rows made with the mint and beige and 7 rows made with just mint color. You can pause the video here and come back once you have all 7 rows of half double crochet stitches made with just mint color. So here we are at the end of our row 6 made with just mint color. I'm going to finish my last 2 stitches and then I am going to fasten up and cut the yarn. This is our main panel. What we are going to create next is like a little tail, so the part here that will go on the back of the head. And what we are going to do now is we are going to count 16 stitches on each side and mark 14 stitches here in the middle, and we are going to use those 14 stitches here in the middle for that additional part here on the back. I'm going to take 2 stitch markers and mark 14 stitches here in the center of the main panel of the bonnet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 with those 2 marked stitches. What are we going to do now is we are going to insert the hook into the stitch that was previously marked with a stitch marker, we are going to create a loop with our main color yarn, and we are going to pull that loop through the stitch and create one chain. And since the first stitch of this row is the decrease, we need to create a half double two together stitch. And because if I create one chain and then half double crochet two together stitch, it can look a little bit crowded. It's perfectly fine if you will do it like that, but I prefer to do the following thing. So I create one chain into the first stitch, and then I create a half double crochet stitch into the next one, and then in the next row I just skip the chain, and this first half double crochet stitch is my first stitch, so the stitch that I count, and those two together, since I don't count the chain, are like half double two together stitch. So from two stitches I get just one stitch. After that we are going to continue with half double crochet stitches all the way here to this side, to the stitch marker, and we are going to create a half double crochet two together stitch, so decrease again into those two last stitches. So the first leg of the half double two together stitch is going to be made into the stitch before the stitch marked with the stitch marker, and then the second leg is going to go into the stitch marked with a stitch marker. So we are going to, this is our half double two together stitch, if I can say so, and now we are going to create one half double crochet stitch into each of next 10 stitches. So 1, 2, and I have to show you this because I think it's important. What I usually do is I crochet the yarn tail made with the same color as my current row. I take this yarn tail and I crochet it into the stitches. So if I can show you, you can see the yarn tail is here, and then I create a half double crochet stitch, and as you can see here, the yarn tail is here in the middle, and then I continue with my stitch. Alright, so here we are, just 2 stitches left, and we are going to join those 2 stitches with a half double crochet two together stitch. Okay, and since this is a new stitch in this pattern, I'm going to show you how to create a half double two together stitch. Yarn over first, insert the hook into the stitch, pull the yarn through. You have 1, 2, 3 loops on your crochet hook, and then insert the hook into the next stitch, pull the yarn through, and now you have 4 loops on your crochet hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now yarn over again and pull the loop through all the loops on your crochet hook. And yes, I know, I make half double crochet stitches a little bit differently, but this is my way of doing them. If you make your half double two together stitches differently and you prefer your technique, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you create a decrease with the same height here at the end of the row, and everything else is perfectly fine. Now chain 1 to lift the row to a proper height and turn your work. Now work 1 half double crochet stitch into each stitch all the way across, all the way to the end of the row. And chain 1 to lift the row to a proper height. Now I'm going to show you something, and it's very simple. The first row is made with 2 decreases, 1 decrease on each side of the row, so one at the beginning and one at the end of the row. And then the next row is just a very simple row of half double crochet stitches, no increases, no decreases. What you're going to do now is you are going to continue building this panel, here this part of the panel, until you reach row 9. So what you are going to do is you are going to continue repeating one row of decreases and one simple row of half double crochet stitches all the way until you reach row 9, and you are actually going to finish with a row of decreases. And once you have that, come back and I will show you what to do next. So this is what we have so far. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of 6 rows made with 2 colors, 6 rows made with just 1 color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here in this our last row, so row 9, you should end this row with 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. And the last row is actually the row with decreases. And now we are going to create one row of single crochet stitches. So we are going to chain 1 and lift our row, turn the work, and now we are going to create one single crochet stitch into each stitch all the way across. So instead of yarn over first, we are going to just insert the hook into the stitch, grab the yarn on the other side and pull the yarn through, and yarn over again and pull the yarn through. And this stitch is called single crochet stitch. I'm going to insert the stitch marker into the first stitch. Now let me show you a little bit closer. So insert the hook into the stitch, grab the yarn on the other side and pull it through. You have 1, 2 loops on your crochet hook, grab the yarn and pull the yarn through. That's your second single crochet stitch. 2 more, so 1, oh, yep, 2 more. So now we have single crochet stitches, so 4 single crochet stitches in our last row on the main panel. And what we are going to do now is we are going to leave a long tail, cut the yarn, and we are going to create, so just grab the yarn and pull the yarn through. Tighten this end here, so we call this process fastening off. And as you can see here, I have long tail, and this tail is going to be for sewing, because we are going to sew this part and then this part together like this. And with that we are going to create a bonnet, and after that we are going to create 2 straps actually in one piece, but let's sew the bonnet together first. Alright, so for the next step you're going to need a small amount of yarn in main color. I'm going to use main color, you can also use the contrasting color if you want. We are going to create a slip knot first and insert the hook into the slip knot. And then now I'm going to create 36 chains. Okay, so we have 36 chains, and now we are going to take our bonnet and we are going to attach the chain, so the strap to the bonnet, starting from here, and then we are going to go all the way to the other side and finish here with the attaching, and then we are going to create a chain, and after that row 2. But let's start with the attaching. One thing that I want to mention here, the very simple rule for attaching or crocheting into the sides of the rows is that when you have half double crochet stitches, so for every 2 rows of half double crochet stitches, you create 3 new stitches here on the top. So what we are going to do now is, you can see those 2 are our first 2 rows, and we have to create 1 stitch here, 1 stitch here in the middle, and 1 stitch here, and then again 1 stitch here in the middle, 1 stitch somewhere here, and then 1 stitch here, just so you get every 2 rows somewhere around 3 stitches. If you get stitch more or less, if you get 1 stitch more or 1 stitch less than that, that's perfectly fine. However, you will get around 40 stitches, 40 new stitches here on the around the neck area. There is around 18 here, 18 here, and around 4 stitches here. Okay, so let's do that now. Now let's start attaching the strap. This is our first stitch here. And we are going to attach them with single crochet stitches, if I haven't said anything about the type of the stitches yet. So single crochet stitches, as you can see here. One other thing, this is your nicer side of the bonnet. Be careful where are you placing your single crochet stitches, just because if you are placing them in the middle here, in the middle of the row made with the contrasting color, then the stitches might look a bit off. So just play around with the stitches and you will find the right way to attach them and find the right place for them in the bonnet. You don't really need to count those stitches here, just make sure that they are created evenly, as you can see here. Even though if you don't have 18 stitches here on this side, that's perfectly fine. Alright, this part here is pretty easy and straightforward because this part here ends, as you can see here, we ended this part with 4 single crochet stitches, and as you can see here, those 4 stitches are very visible and you can use them one for one, so 1 stitch for 1 new stitch, the same as if you would crochet into the row below. Alright, this was my very last stitch of this row, so the part where we were attaching the strap to the main part, so the bonnet. And now we are going to create 36 chains plus 1 chain, which is going to be our turning chain. Now we have 36 chains and we have to create 1 more, and this one is going to be our turning chain. Again, you can crochet into back bumps, as I will here, but you can also use any of those 2 loops on the front if you want. It's going to be much easier, but I think it's going to look nicer if you crochet into back bumps. But both techniques are correct and completely okay, so you can choose whichever one you prefer. And what we are going to do now is we are going to crochet 1 slip stitch into each stitch all the way across to the end here. So 1 stitch, 1 slip stitch into each stitch all the way across. And we are going to start in the second chain from the hook. So this first one is our turning chain, and we are going to skip that one and we are going to start in the second. And slip stitch is very simple. All you have to do, it's very similar to single crochet. All you have to do is insert the hook into the loop. In my case, that is back bump. Grab the yarn, so yarn over, and pull the yarn through the loop. And now you have 2 loops on your crochet hook. What you're going to do now, instead of yarning over as you would do when you are making single crochet stitches, you would just go and pull the loop through. One more time. Insert the hook into the loop, grab the yarn, pull the yarn through, and pull it through again. One more time. Insert the hook, grab the yarn, pull it through one loop, pull it through two loops. And those are actually slip stitches, and we have 1, 2, 3 of them already. And what you're going to do now is you're going to continue and make the rest of the slip stitches, and you will meet me back when you come to the very last stitch on the straps. So this is what we have so far. This is the end that we are going to have to weave in the yarn ends in, and this is the nicer end, so the nicer strap that we don't have to do anything with it. And here is the row of slip stitches, so first row of single crochet stitches, and then on top of that one row of slip stitches. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to take a yarn needle and I am going to hide those two yarn tails between the stitches. And what I usually do is I just go left and right and left and right, and once I feel comfortable with how much yarn is weaved between the stitches, I go back a little bit just to prevent any major unraveling, like this, and then I go and I cut the yarn tail. I pull the strap, in this case, a little bit, just so I know that the yarn end is hidden between the stitches very nicely and it will not come out so easily. And I am going to repeat the steps for the second yarn end. Alright, that would be all for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like crocheting, crochet tutorials and yarn related studio vlogs, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss any of my future videos. I will leave the links to everything mentioned in the video in the description box below, as well as the links to my other two calming green tutorials, the sweater and the romper. Who knows, baby shoes could be next. We will see. Thank you very much for all the love and support to my Patreons. If you want to support my work too and get access to behind the scenes of my work, access to podcast newsletters, monthly PDF patterns, yarn hauls, and much more, I invite you over to my Patreon page. I love my Patreon page and I love sharing all the additional content there too. So join us. Thank you for being here and spending your precious time with me. Have a lovely day, stay safe and well, and I will be back with a brand new tutorial very soon. Bye!